Best song wasn't the single, but you neither know. Living in the Terror Heights, yeah, Black Beverly Hills, domesticated paradise. No palm trees and pools, no. The water's blue, swallow the pill, keeping it surreal. Whatever you like, whatever feels good, whatever takes you mountain high. Keeping it surreal, yeah, yeah. Not sugar free, my TV ain't HD, that's too real, yeah. Grapevine, mango, peaches and limes. A sweet life, a sweet life, sweet life. Sweet life, sweet life. Sweet, 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 sweet life, yeah.
Hey, welcome back, viewers. It's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, the guy on the bike. And we're in Chelsea. Jim, we're gonna run into Cheim Read, and we're gonna say hello. We're gonna try to see an exhibition, at least part of an exhibition by Ron Gorchov, the late paintings. Stay tuned. We showed our vaccine passport. We're gonna get in here and see Ron Gorchov, the last paintings.
But you're keeping it surreal. Whoever you like, whatever feels good, whatever takes you mountain high. Keeping it surreal, yeah, yeah. Not sugar free, my TV ain't HD, that's too real, yeah. Grapevine, mango, peaches and limes. A sweet life, a sweet life, sweet life, yeah.
Yes, well, I came in and talked to Stephen Truex, who I've been hanging out with here at Cheim Read for, well, since the middle of the last decade, maybe before. This is titled Jocasta 2017 Oil on Linen, 85 by 74. Ron has been one of my interests, his work, since I came to New York, so that was in the late 70s. And gosh, I think I remember seeing one of his shows up on 57th Street at the Pat Hamilton Gallery. And I think he was one of the people that was in the Barbara Rose paintings of the 80s show. And he is someone that has been deeply embedded in the New York art scene for years. And of course the saddle, in quotation marks, the saddle shape is one of the things that distinguished him. And I think I remember seeing him walking down the street in Soho, coming from his stretcher maker. He had one of these, just the wood that he was taking back to his studio, and I stopped and took a picture of him, but that's got to be maybe in the mid-'80s. This is titled Mockingbird 2020, Oil on Linen, 16 by 14. This is called Merprat 2020. This is 14 and a half by 16. I think you should always do the depth to 4 3/4. Well, I was talking with Stephen, and he emphasized the fact that this is only part of the Ron Gorchov late paintings shows. There's another half that we're going to get at some point that's opening at Vito Schnabel down the street. It's titled Merope, 2017. This is 85 by 76. You know, one of the things that I'm impressed with is that Ron's format, you would think would be kind of limited. It has a certain kind of object quality to it, a certain kind of a sculptural aspect to the work. And so, in a certain way, you would think that that might maybe reduce the size that these would be effective on. But some of these pieces are fairly large. They're not as big as maybe a big Barnett Newman or a huge Jackson Pollock, but they're big. This is titled Amphora, 2017. The other thing I'm noticing about a lot of the old, or the late works, is that Ron has gotten very, very thin. A lot of this is just washes of oil. Some of his earlier paintings, there were sections that were a little chunkier. There was always this kind of washy areas. And I think part of it was that Ron was a real painter, and he liked the idea of pigments and what a pure pigment would look like, and how you would display a canvas that was covered with pigment in a certain way and get a kind of dry color thing working. These little forms are a little more solidly painted in. This is Pontonus. I wonder if he's got some kind of Greek tragic figures that he's naming these paintings after. So I actually would bump into Ron occasionally down in Red Hook, Brooklyn. We'd go into the grocery store and I would see him, and every now and then he'd be walking back to his studio down there and we'd chat a little bit. This is great. You've got a certain kind of natural variegation in this violet from the absorption of the oil, and that's played off against those great pale turquoise. And I guess part of the reason that I like the saddle structure and the kind of the showing the way these are built, the architecture of the picture plane, is that I'm a big fan of the materiality of art and painting especially. Gosh, okay. This is Rexenor, oil on linen. This is 35 1/4 by 44 1/4 by 9. Well, I was talking about his scale. I think this would be like your kind of your average easel size. And this is a very appropriate, say, size for this kind of format. One of the things that, I think Ron was kind of teasing me about was that, I think was in the New York art scene from maybe the late 50s, early 60s until he passed away And I guess it's been, let's say, 2020, so last year. This is July 4th, 2020. Oil on linen. And Ron had the reputation that he was one of the last people that spent time and talked to John Graham, the great kind of mystical painter. I think his real name is Ivanov Dubrovsky. I don't know how how much Ron was involved with Russian and Russian heritage and things, but I asked him about his connection to John Graham and what that meant. We're running the back room. And he wouldn't talk about it. It's titled Polynesis 2018. I recently did a video at the Cheim Gallery where they were featuring John Graham and some of the other, they call it the avant-garde. So I think it was Graham, Gorky, and some other people. Anyway, someone posted that Ron Gorchov was influenced by John Graham, and particularly the eyes in the John Graham paintings, his late paintings of women. And all of the women have these kind of strange cross-eyed or cockeyed looks. And, well, someone, he said, made that connection, and I was sort of thinking about it. And now that I kind of look at some of these and think about them, like, you know, who knows, maybe. So we've got some charcoal lines in here that they're coming through the pedimedi. This is titled Close Call. (2020). Gosh, it says here that Ron was born in 1930 and lived to 2020, so Ron was 90 when he passed away, so he was 87, 86, 87, 88 when he did these paintings. Gosh, I'm hoping I'll be able to do something this good next week, and I'm a long way from being 90. Again, I think that he had this great sense of color, and something like this you would think is pretty simple and straight ahead, but and even with this, the thinness of the paint, it gets great things to happen. And I think in a lot of ways that he is an heir to the painters like Clifford Still, Pollock, Sam Francis, and he would probably be almost more of a contemporary with people like Kenneth Nolan and Morris Lewis. Let's see if we can get a view of this piece. Edicles, 2019. Oil on linen. This is 19 by 28 by 6. You know, the other thing that you wouldn't really notice if you didn't look at a lot of Ron Gorchov pieces is that he varies the curves, the curvature. I don't know what you call this, convex. quality of these. So these are, some of them are more arched, some are lesser arched. I remember putting a question to him he had a one-person show at PS1. It's got to be maybe 17, 18 years ago. And I asked him, I said I'd been doing a little studying on astronomy at the time, and some astrophysicist had been theorizing that the universe was shaped like a saddle. And I asked him, gee, Ron, did you ever hear that? And he looked at me and said, yeah, I read that, and I thought about that for a while. Anyway, yeah, we love you, Ron. And, well, we're going to try to go over to Vito Schnabel and get some more views of the rest of the show. This has been Ron Gorchov. Late work at Cheim Read. Glory be, I pedaled over here to the Vito Schnabel Gallery, and gosh, they're still open. I'm wondering if I can get in there and cover some of this. Let's try. Thank you, Ron Gorchov, Spice of Life. Okay, well, this is an impressive selection. Okay, I'm 5 minutes before closing time. If I don't get all of this, I'll, excuse me, come back at some point. I think one of the distinctions between this and the other show is that these are some of the old classic Ron paintings. This is a fantastic one of his stack pieces. And thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. God, I was going to mention something about the stack pieces. I saw a photograph of one of his museum installations, and he had a stack piece that was, I think it went up to like the third floor, and this is one of his ideas I was talking about in the other show. I was talking about how the curvatures of these pieces vary, and some of his stack pieces, you can see that they start out and well, it's not like they're flat, but as you go up the column, they become more and more curved. Boy, I feel lucky because both the galleries that I've been to have got paper copies of the checklist. This is titled St. John. This is 2017 oil on linen. This is 71 by 101. Well, I'm happy to see that Vito is sponsoring half of this Ron Gorchov retrospective. I know that his father, Julian, has been a big fan of Ron's for years. And I think I saw an interview with Julian, and he was in his kitchen, and he had a Ron Gorchov painting in there that he was looking at and pointing out certain features of. It's titled Arena 1977. Okay, so this is older. Gosh, there's a nice quality about some of the frazzled edges of the linen. You know, all the ladies I see with the designer jeans that have been torn and ripped, but they don't have quite the same quality. Okay, so I was talking about how the late paintings, the last paintings, are much thinner. Oh gosh, you can see that I think Ron was scraping on the paint with a palette knife here on some of this, which is totally a different way of applying paint than the thin washes. And I gotta get moving because they're gonna start running people out soon. I like the title of this one. It's titled The Art, 1972. This is amazing. I'm not sure exactly when Ron started doing his shaped canvases, his arched canvases, but it's great that they are showing them now. And as I said, God, it's an interesting thing to think about how Ron's painting techniques and the kinds of things that he was looking for with his application of the paint changed over time. So you can see that this has got a lot of petimenti in there, and he was scraping things in. There's a lot of underpainting. Oh, I think this is the piece that...
But listen, please Google, when he does this, Google audacious.
Yeah, thank you.
I think this may be the piece that I saw in the interview that Julian was showing off in his kitchen. Or maybe this is the art. Mr. Store, nice to see you. Wonderful show. So this was one of the things that Julian was pointing out was this, I'm sure there's a technical name for this kind of crack, but I guess if you're someone that really likes painting, you realize that paintings have their own lives, that they change. At some point they're fresh and new and clean, and as time goes by they start to get a little old, a little frayed along the edges. This is titled Set. I think this is what, yeah, that's what. Okay, so this is 150 by 149 and a half by 19 and a quarter. So 1971. Gosh, I'm looking at some of these stretchers and things, and thinking about some of the joint works, the wood parts that they were using in some of these old ships and shipbuilders. Better keep moving. I would just say, from a coloristic standpoint, and I was talking about how Ron had a very high-keyed, very sensitive color sense, and you look at this, you think, gee, that's just a red or a reddish orange. It's not. It's probably got a couple of layers of paint on there, and he's kind of tinted it down. The yellow is kind of greenish chartreuse. Even that, well, what might look like black is not. It's got brown and maybe violet in there, and the blue is, it's got 2 or 3 other things mixed in there. Ulysses. That's always a good name for painting. It's 1979. I think one of the things that made me appreciate Ron's surfaces more was a couple of Mark Rothko paintings that I saw at it was the American Folk Art Museum when they were still, it was on 53rd Street, a couple of doors down from the Museum of Modern Art. And somebody curated a show, I think it was about the color red, and happened to include a couple of Rothkos, and I had a chance to get up and look at a couple of very large classic Rothkos and spend some time thinking about the surfaces. Okay. It's titled Samba, 2005. I've probably done at least a couple of other programs on Ron. So this is one of the more recent pieces. It's only 17 years old. Getting back to the Rothko comparison, one of the great things about the Rothkos was that you really could see the color. You could see the way they kind of worked the pigment into the canvas, and you could tell, that somebody had touched this. It's titled "The Spice of Life," Oil and this is 2017. And if you were to compare, say, the surface of this piece, very similar composition and almost color layout, but if you look at the surface compared to this one, you can see that it's much thinner, drier, just kind of layers of wash. And it's even got some little bare spots, some variegations in there. So I'm looking at all 3 of these. This is almost like a suite of a very similar format. And we've got our thinner painter. This is 1976. Hi, David Reed. Untitled, 1973. It's also the older pieces. Ron would push the paint right up to the edge of the canvas. Get some crackle in there. Okay, I'm gonna run downstairs. Okay, well, even the help is leaving, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Untitled, 1976 to 77. Gosh, I think these have got maybe some of the most, or the more complex forms that he used. One of the other things that I asked Ron is that someone had mentioned that Ron painted with both hands. It's titled Lure 2, 1979. They said that Ron painted with both hands, and I saw him at an opening and we were talking, and I said, is that true? You paint with both hands? And he says, well, it's not like I'm holding two brushes at once, but if I have to reach up somewhere and I can't get it with one hand, I'll reach up and do it with the other hand. And I mentioned to him the fact that I thought that was kind of sensual, and kind of like these forms are almost like the small of a back, and maybe using both hands would be like giving someone a back rub. It's titled Amphora, 1975, 35 by 52 by 12. And again, Ron does have this kind of signature form, the dual shapes. And there is something about the shape, though, that makes you kind of read the whole graphic aspect of it, and I guess included with that would be the coloristic and surface aspects of that a little bit differently. And, well, we made it. We're going to look at this piece. It's one of the Otter pieces in the show. Sixth one. It's 110 by 80 inches. This is also a big painting. And I think that this is one of the most graphic of the pieces that I've seen. There's a lot more drawing in here. He's left a lot of charcoal, and gosh, you can see where he's gone in and painted out a lot. It's very linear, and normally his forms are not this complex, and it's unusual for him to have forms that go from one side to another. Also, this is vertical, which is kind of unusual. Geez, he's got some metallic silver in there as well. Okay, so this has been James Kalm with a double feature on Ron Gorchov. And this has been Ron Gorchov's Spice of Life here at the Vito Schnabel Gallery on West 19th Street. And we saw the last paintings at Cheim Read. I think they're on 26th Street, 27th Street. Anyway, you can like this, share, link it up to all your social media sites, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and reviews below. We just ask you to say thank you, Kate, and thank you, Ron.
Sweet life, sweet life, ooh, sweet life, living down in life, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was Sweet Life, also by Frank Ocean.
J.P. Kogan.
Lovely track, lovely track.
Thank you.